All right, there's so much talk. Maxx Crosby, Trey Hendrickson. What is fantasy and what is reality for the Detroit Lions this offseason?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Great to see you on a Friday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Matt Dery with you on a Friday, February 13th, and a Valentine's Day, February 14th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. A lot to get into today. We're going to hear from one of our listeners. Yes, Call of the Day is back. If you want to be our Call of the Day and leave us a voicemail, we might play it on the air. Please send a voicemail to speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page. Keep it about a minute or less. No swearing. We're going to play a Call of the Day today. New listener, everydayer, new Call of the Day today, right here on this Friday edition. Want to get into the schedule again. I mentioned it a little bit yesterday. We got some news on Bruce Gradkowski. Brought him up yesterday. Now all of a sudden, Dolphins are interested in him, and the Lions put a little block sign up. How about blocked? Bruce Gradkowski staying right in Detroit. But I got to get into this first and talk about free agency. And I made a list. No, not the kicker list. But no, I made a trusty list here of some players. And let's talk about this, because we all know what the Lions' needs are. We don't know if general manager Brad Holmes is going to fill needs this year, or if he's going to continue to play the best available player game. All right. Now, last year, look, Carlton Davis, was leaving in free agency, and the Lions needed a top corner, and they signed one in DJ Reed. He had a bad season, and he was injured. So we know the Lions needed to fill the opposite edge of Aiden Hutchinson and brought the band back with Marcus Davenport and Al-Qadim Muhammad and things like that. But I'm talking about this offseason. What's real in terms of who's going to play center, who's going to play left tackle? Are the Lions going to get a high-profile edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson? What's fantasy and what's reality? And I've got a list of 6 names, and then in the second segment, I got one name that I think could be the most real of all, but it would take a trade to get him. So I've got some trade possibilities, some free agents, but what's reality and what's fantasy when it comes to Detroit this offseason? Because the Lions are fresh off a year where, as we all know, didn't make the playoffs, finished in last place in the NFC North, and won just 9 games. All right. Vegas had them at 10.5, 11 wins as an over-under. Our friends at FanDuel in the offseason. We talked about that ad nauseum last year. The Lions took a step back this year, but good core coming back. New offensive coordinator. Seems like the staff is in place that they're happy with, right? And a renewed sense of, hey, we got to get better. And everybody has been saying it from the top of the organization, from ownership on down. But the first name that I'll bring up that I'm not sure is reality, but I don't see it as a no chance, is Maxx Crosby. We have talked about it on the show. The Raiders edge rusher. He says in interviews that he's in the building early. He's the first one there, the last to leave. He's working out at 6 a.m, and he's a Raider. He is not in any interview, including the one we played last week for you with Colin Cowherd. He's not committed to saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm happy here. I love the Raiders. I love the new Clint Kubiak hiring. I'm excited about Fernando Mendoza. He has said none of that. And reports continue to be out there that Crosby has played his last game as a Raider. Jay Glazer has reported that for weeks at Fox Sports. Crosby says, nobody's talked to me, but he hasn't exactly publicly proclaimed, I'm a Raider for life. He's making $30 million this year, $30 million next year, and the year after. It's an expensive contract, but would it destroy the Lions cap? No, it would not. What would it take to get him? Probably 2 first-round picks. Micah Parsons is a better player. That took 2 first-round picks from Green Bay and Kenny Clark. Would Brad Holmes relinquish the number 17 pick this year and next year's first rounder to bring Maxx home. A guy that has said he's rooted for the Lions in the past. The guy that has said he loves Dan Campbell. All public comments he has made. It's more on the fantasy side than reality for me, but that's the first name that comes to mind when we're talking about this offseason for Detroit. Number 2, Trey Hendrickson. If you go to ESPN.com and you look at their top 50 free agents, number 1 on the board is edge rusher from Cincinnati, the Bungles, Trey Hendrickson. 17 and a half sacks, 65 pressures 2 years ago. This year, the contract, injuries, and the Bengals sucking. And Cincinnati, as only Cincinnati could do, doesn't trade him, doesn't extend him. And now he's an unrestricted free agent and considered the top free agent player, not just edge rusher, player completely in this class on March 9th. Are the Lions ready to pony up $30 to $35 million a year for Trey Hendrickson? Again, he's he's entering next year at age 31. Maybe that number is inflated. Maybe I'm wrong, and that number is going to be too high. But Brad Holmes has said publicly it's very difficult to pay two guys enormous amounts of money that play the same position, one on one side, one on the other in terms of edge rushers. That's why the Crosby thing to me is still a question mark. But with Hendrickson, you don't have to trade for him. You just sign him. Would Detroit pony up and make a big splash by going to get him? Again, has been one of the top sack artists in football, 31 years of age, though. I think there's some reality to it, but again, I don't know if Brad Holmes is ready to dip his oar into that pond and row his boat in it. All right, next on the list, Tyler Linderbaum. We know this, okay? You got a top flight edge rusher already on your team in Aiden Hutchinson. And maybe Brad is of the belief, you know what, having two is a lot and it's too expensive. But I'll tell you one thing, the Lions offensive line this year at times was buns. They couldn't block interior-wise. The guards in the center struggled, and that center position was bad. It was bad this year. God bless Graham Glasgow, Lion for life. We love him, veteran, great in the locker room. Not your starting center next year. And I know he's under contract. No, he cannot be. Tyler Linderbaum is the best center, best offensive lineman in this free agent class. He's 26 years of age, and for some odd reason, the Ravens did not extend him and did not even offer him that fifth-year option. Now, they could retool a lot of things and bring him back. That's a possibility. You know, their new head coach, Jesse Minter, would want him back. But there will be other suitors for Linderbaum, not just the Lions. John Harbaugh and the Giants. He played for Harbaugh in Baltimore. The Packers' center position this past year was a tire fire. Green Bay notoriously doesn't pay big dollars, similar to kind of the Lions, but looking at the competition in the division, knowing that the Lions are not going to have the kind of year this coming year they had this past year. You know, the Bears are good, touchdown Bears. Minnesota's no slouch. Bad season, and they finished 9-8. This is the move I want to see. I want the Lions to go out and get themselves the Frank Ragnow replacement that they didn't get last year. And Linderbaum is a stud. He's an all-pro, all-world center. That would be awesome. That would be splashy. That would be on the line where the Lions dominated for years. Up front, O-line, D-line. Linderbaum would be awesome. Is it going to happen? We'll see. All right, finally, at least for this segment, we'll do a couple more names in the next segment, is Jaelen Phillips, the edge rusher, who, of course, was traded to the Eagles at the deadline last year. 2 sacks and 27 pressures playing for Vic Fangio at the end of last season. Over his 5-year career, 28 sacks, 150 pressures. He went from Miami to Philly last year. He'll be 27 years of age. What kind of money are we talking about for Jaelen Phillips? Probably a lot. Probably over $20 million. All right. Considered by ESPN to be the 5th ranked free agent in this class. And again, You're talking about ponying up some money for a guy that at times you go, man, he's dominant. Other times, not bad, pretty good, but not in the class of Hutchinson or Parsons or Hendrickson or Crosby or Myles Garrett for that matter. But I do think there is some reality to that, to Jaelen Phillips. Two more names and a name that I think the Lions could trade for at a position of need. We will do that coming up next, right here on a Friday, Locked On Lions. And the podcast today brought to you by our friends at Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a big difference. And according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves if you go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast, right here on Locked On Lions. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. And look, I've been telling you about our everydayers. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We're doing great, having a lot of fun. We bring you the daily show here on Locked On Lions. Got the Locked On Lions Squad, Locked On Squad show. We got it all. If you want to be an everydayer club person and join us, please do at lockedonlions.supercast.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, log into lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and join us. What are you going to get? You'll get an ad-free version of the show, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can join our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club Discord server. We got the chat room going, and you can interact with me. I'm on there. It's a lot of fun. Please consider us for your Everydayer Club and join us. All right. A couple more names that have surfaced in terms of free agency for Detroit. Is it fantasy or is it reality with some of these guys? I heard Mike Valenti yesterday on the ticket. I was driving home, and Mikey was talking about Braden Smith, considered the 10th best free agent from ESPN and a big right tackle for the Colts. He'll be 30 years old this season. And if you're bringing Braden Smith in on a free agent deal, that likely means you're either telling Taylor Decker to walk or Taylor Decker is retiring and you're moving Penei Sewell to the left side. Smith is 6'6", 312, had a good year this past year, but always seems to be hurt. Injuries have been an issue. He's missed 17 games over the last 3 years. This year he played 13 games at right tackle for the Colts. And according to ESPN, his pass block win rate jumped 7% from last year. Just a solid player. And I see that as a definite possibility for Detroit if they decide, hey, look, we can save a lot of money with the cap with the Decker release, which I don't know that the Lions want to do. All right. I think the Lions want to give him the chance to play one more year if he wants to. But I do think Braden Smith could be, if they decide for Decker to go, Smith could be somebody on their radar. The second best center in the free agency class, we've mentioned his name before, is Connor McGovern from the Buffalo Bills. 28 years old, won't cost as much as Linderbaum. Steady, very, very good, and had a pass block win rate this year of 97.2%. Tied for second among 31 qualifying centers. Connor McGovern comes from a winning program with the Bills, and I think might be the most realistic free agent option for Detroit if they want to go free agency at center. And obviously they would have to either Graham Glasgow retires or they'd have to release him. But Connor McGovern is a guy that I could see the Lions signing. Absolutely. As kind of their big free agent signing, but he will not cost as much as Linderbaum, who could go for anything between $20 and $25 million a year. All right, so my friend Ross Jackson, the host of Locked On Saints, brought something up yesterday, and I texted him today, and he said he brought it up. So shout out to Ross. He gets full credit on this. Could the Lions go a different route and trade for a center this offseason? It won't cost as much, and he hasn't really played center in the NFL. Where he has played as right guard, but where he played center and he was really good in college, we all know who he is Cesar Ruiz, the former Michigan Wolverine, who in his, I believe, 6-year career with the Saints, and he's right now currently on a 4-year, $40 million deal. 4 years, $44 million deal. So he's making about $11 million a year. He's never really played center for the Saints. He's been a right guard. They drafted Eric McCoy back in 2019, and he's been the center for them for a while. But Cesar Ruiz is an interesting case. All right. Again, 4-year, $44 million deal that he signed in September of 2023. He is signed through the 2027 season. There is a out in his contract this year with a cap hit of $14.2 million if the Saints were to want to do that. Or we could be talking about a trade. New Orleans is going very, very young. Cesar Ruiz has not lived up to the billing of a first-round pick, yet he's always been solid for New Orleans. This year at right guard, he didn't have a good year. PFF grade of just 55.1, including a 73 grade for pass blocking, which is good, but just a 44 run blocking grade. Probably not what you want at center, but he was a guard the last few years. Saints, Dan Campbell, Alex Anzalone. There is the Saints connection. When Ruiz was drafted, Dan Campbell was there. Could the Lions make a trade and go get their center, who is actually a guard, at least in the NFL, and Cesar Ruiz? But when he was at center at Michigan, he was good, but he's never played that position much in the NFL, whether it was just filling in an injury, moving over is one thing. It's a name to watch. That's all I'm saying. And he doesn't make a ton of money. And he's a solid NFL veteran, 27, 28 years of age, who might just need a change of scenery. And the Saints, as we know, would love to dump salary and get even younger. Keep an eye on that. I did want to tell you, Jordan Schultz reporting this yesterday. We mentioned that the Lions love their offensive coaching staff. They love Mark Brunell, a quarterback's coach, Dan Campbell having a hand in everything, Drew Petzing, Mike Kafka. And I mentioned Bruce Gradkowski, who has kind of been an offensive assistant for the last couple of years. And now, according to Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, the Detroit Lions blocked the Dolphins' interview request for Gradkowski. They have a new head coach in Jeff Hafley. He wanted to interview Bruce for his vacant quarterback's coaching job, and the Lions blocked that interview request. Now, teams are allowed to do this if the job they're interviewing for would not be considered a promotion. And even though it's offensive assistant and not necessarily quarterback's coach, and if you think about it in the pantheon of coaching, it's like head coach, coordinator, position coach, and you would think offensive assistant. But in the NFL rules, promotion, there's only 3 levels of it: assistant position coach, coordinator, and head coach. So assistant coach, where Gradkowski is, and position coach are actually in the same category. So the Lions normally don't get in the way of allowing their assistants to leave or get promotions. We know this. All right. Hank Fraley interviewed for the OC job in Seattle last year, but they have denied the Dolphins' request to make Gradkowski the quarterback's coach. They want to keep him here. That's how highly thought of Gradkowski is by Dan Campbell. So he's going to remain a Detroit Lion. And quite honestly, I think that's pretty sweet. I like it. You want to keep good coaches here. We just mentioned yesterday how much the Lions really like all of their entire staff. And look, they Drew Petzing said yesterday on the Pride of Detroit podcast, he considers Jared Goff an assistant coach and like almost like an offensive coordinator. One thing quickly on the schedule. I mentioned yesterday that Sean Morash from WFAN was thinking Lions, Bills to open the season in Buffalo for Sunday Night Football. And I made the point of saying that the Buffalo road game would be the toughest road game for the Lions next year, not naming Chicago, Green Bay, or Minnesota. Anytime you go on the road in the division, it's always difficult. And I said that Buffalo would be the toughest road game. I mentioned Carolina yesterday. They're playing at Atlanta, Miami, Arizona, that type of thing. That Carolina game is not going to be easy at all either. And while you look at the home schedule and you say, they should beat New Orleans, they should beat New England, New York, the Jets. Tennessee was the last place team. They're playing the AFC, so they're going to get the Patriots at home. They also get the New York Giants because the Giants finished in last as well. And of course, everybody in New York is thrilled and excited about John Harbaugh, and they think that could be a turnaround quickly, especially if Jackson Dart, Scattaboo, Neighbors are all healthy. The Giants will be better next year. Of course, they're going to be better next year. And the Giants were bad last year and nearly beat the Lions at Ford Field. But that Carolina game on the road next year is not going to be easy at all. I kind of poo-pooed it a little bit yesterday. I wanted to bring that up. All right, coming up next, a new voice on Call of the Day. Yes, she chimes in. We will do that right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Winter games are officially here. And if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected on all of the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and the curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. It's all people are talking about is curling. The hockey's great. Come on. Hockey games are just intense. Wait till we get to that medal round. Wait till we get to U.S., Canada. Speed skating races, niche events. It's all there for you. The Winter Olympic experience is a lot of fun. FanDuel keeps the entire experience engaging from start to finish. Check out my guy, Andrew Siciliano, on Gold Zone, by the way. Winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, it is about that time, ladies and gentlemen. Time for Call of the Day. Again, if you want to be our Call of the Day, you can be by going to speakpipe.com, speakpipe.com/Dery, Dery podcast page. Leave us a voicemail. Always love hearing from you. Today, her name is Emily. Don't know her, but God bless her. I appreciate her chiming in. She makes a first-time appearance on Call of the Day. Let's take a listen.
Hey, this is Emily, and I've been a fan since around 2020, and I wanted to ask you what you think about, is there going to be a upcoming roster turnover? In your mind, what you think Brad Holmes is going to do? Is he going to try and keep the core team, or what you think the future is going to look like?
All right, Emily, thank you very much. A little Call of the Day there. It is interesting. It's funny to hear national people when they talk about the Lions and they talk about turnover. Number one, I don't see a massive overhaul when you still had a winning record and when you still have this kind of young talent on the team. So to say what kind of turnover, you could have a little turnover, you could have a lot of turnover. It's the words like overhauling the roster and blowing it up. That's not happening. Your quarterback's back. 3, possibly 4 of your offensive linemen are back. Your starting tight end is back. Your receiver room, I think most of them will be back. And I think they'll re-sign Khalif Raymond. I think Dan Campbell loves him. All right. On defense, Hutchinson's coming back. I think Aleem McNeil's coming back, right? I mean, yes, there'll be some new faces along the defensive line. I think 2 of the 3 linebackers come back. Your secondary, if Joseph is healthy, legit, you re-sign Rock Yassin. You're going to be bringing back Terry Arnold from injury, DJ Reed. I don't see this massive overhaul that people are talking about. Now, with that being said, if another team comes out and offers Al-Qadim Muhammad a bunch of money, he's leaving. Same for Alex Anzalone. There will be some guy. I don't think, Emily, what's going to happen this offseason happened last offseason, which was they brought everybody back. Like, we're like, Marcus Davenport, he's gone, brought him back. Patrick O'Connor, he'll be gone. He came back. Like, it was Onwuzurike. Oh, yeah, they brought him back. Like, they brought a lot of guys back. Glasgow was brought back. They did a ton of re-ups, and I don't think they're going to do that this time around. I do think a guy like Avonte Maddox, Rock Yassin, maybe Al-Qadim Muhammad, guys like that, I think will return. I don't think Amik Robertson's coming back. I think he's going to be too rich for them, and he's going to want to start. Same with Anzalone. So, no, I don't think it's going to be a big overhaul, but I don't think they're going to have the kind of retainment, if that's even a word, that they had a year ago. I do think they want some fresh bodies in there, and we'll see about Decker and we'll see about Glasgow. Already Dan Skipper, as we know, is retired and is going to be an assistant coach instead. So, all right, great week of Locked On Lions. Appreciate all of you being with us. Thanks for making us your first listen. Have a great Valentine's Day, everybody, tomorrow, and we're back again on Monday.